Alright guys, so now we're going to determine how pure was our aspirin, and we're going to be doing that using a ferric chloride test. First, we're going to be adding 1 milliliter of water into each of these test tubes, and then we're going to be adding a total of 2 drops of 1% ferric chloride. I have now added 1 milliliter of water to each test tube. Here is 1% ferric chloride, and we're going to be adding 2 drops to each test tube. Ferric chloride tests for the presence of phenols. A phenol group is present in one of our reactants, salicylic acid, but it is not present in the product, aspirin. So that means that if we see ferric chloride reacting with a phenol, it would mean that we have some of our reactant left over, and therefore our product is not pure. When ferric chloride reacts with a phenol, it turns purple. So let's see what happens. First, we're going to be adding a few crystals of salicylic acid to test tube number 1. And this is going to be our positive control because we know the salicylic acid has a phenol group. And we know that ferric chloride reacts with that phenol group, and therefore we expect this test tube number 1 to have a dark purple color. Now we're going to add a few crystals of the aspirin that we made into test tube number 2. In test tube number 3, we're going to be adding some pure aspirin. This will be our negative control because we know that pure aspirin will not have any phenol groups, and therefore ferric chloride should not react. As expected, the negative control, no purple. Our last test tube is going to be the blank, so we're not going to be adding anything to it. Alright guys, here's a final glance. Once again, test tube number 1 has salicylic acid, test tube number 2 had our aspirin, test tube number 3 had the pure aspirin, and test tube number 4 was the blank. It only had the ferric chloride and the water. Looking at our aspirin, we can come to the conclusion that it is not pure. If we look at the pure aspirin and we compare it to our product, we can see that there is no purple in the pure aspirin, whereas our product does have purple, which means that it is more similar in appearance to test tube number 1, which had salicylic acid.